that would be approximately $15 a
Oh, yeah,
month,
that's what we were good.
which is $180 a year,
That's what we were
$40
good.
million
That would be,
for the total.
that would
rather than-
you wanted to
support
put
a
30
$40
million
million
first,
bond to
Yeah.
operate a larger, more
Yeah, of
improved
course
library.
we're gonna do it.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah,
If you're 40, you're done right there.
and
yeah.
the 30 goes the same way, so.
Yes.
And then would it
the
make a
question
difference if it
five
were-
becomes 12 per month, 144 per year,
Right,
Which
which would be a $30 million bond.
Yes.
Yes,
bill.
yes.
Yeah,
okay.
Well, if I could go back to the third question that we were talking about too, I just wanted to make a comment. We haven't really stressed the services and everything else. You're trying to sell the expansion by additional programming, you're putting in services and everything else. Would it make sense to do, in order to provide expanded programming, services, accessibility, safety, or whatever else you want to put in there, do you feel Plainfield Public Library needs major improvements to its building? Instead of saying, do we need improvements to the building? Try to put in there that we need the programming.
improved services somewhere in there too.
Yeah, that's what I think is.
All
I,
right.
I want to be careful too that we're not softballing them and setting them up too.
Exactly.
Well, of course I agree with those things.
We need it, we just wanna know if you agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's
Exactly.
important to put that with the building and the improved services, even before the
so
safety
somewhere in
is
there.
listed in
Yeah.
there.
Are you truly trying to get an opinion from everybody, or are you gonna try to convince them at the same time?
No, we're trying to get their opinion on where we stand. We're not, this isn't
You're not
supposed
trying to
to be about
persuade it.
No.
persuading. This is
Yeah.
supposed to be about where do we stand today? If we
Right.
took a vote today, what would it come back?
Well, and we're gonna find out one of three things. Either they'll support it no matter how much, they'll support it at 15, I guess four things. They'll support it at 12, or they won't support it at all. And then based on how strongly those numbers break down, then we can go back and really start looking at
Yeah.
what are we aiming for.
So
And
if
we
just
see
want
how
those-
many come back undecided. You know, are we not getting out there
Right,
and getting
so
them the
then-
information? Are they just gonna say, I can't tell, I don't know anything about it?
And that's what a lot of people will say on the phone. They will state, you know, we will, and it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's Parks and Rec, whether it's library, whatever. We need more information, and two things come across. What the cost of the project's gonna be, what the projects are involved, what you're gonna do, what you're gonna improve, what you're gonna build.
People's tolerance to questions over the phone aren't high, so do we go with?
This is
some
why
of
we're
the-
trying to
But
keep
that's
it
where you wanna
10
keep it
questions or
Carl-
less.
Yes.
Carl narrowed it down to, I think, 4 items. I mean, are those the questions that we need to ask
Yeah.
and remove the rest?
Yeah.
I
I had a lot of
I-
questions.
But I think they're
I
on,
get phone
like,
calls too, and it's, people, yeah.
but it is pretty simplified now, you know, now that we're going in. I mean,
Yeah, without
Basically.
question 6, the way it was,
right.
this is under 10 minutes easy.
That's
Oh,
my
it's-
This
next
is-
question.
this
Under
is-
5.
This is a less
Under
than
5.
5 minutes, literally less than 5 minutes.
And if you
Sure.
have to make it, you could get through it in a couple minutes, if somebody says it really.
Yeah,
Will we be able to get to see the revised questions, like all typed up before making?
Uh,
No,
we-
no.
I'm gonna go through those.
Okay, I just wanted to see what they were, look
Yeah.
like without all of the scribbles on the
Mhm.
paper.
Yeah,
That's all.
when you have a final, if you guys CC Lisa on
Okay.
that, she can shoot it out to the full board.
There we
That's,
go.
yeah, that's all, I
All
just
right.
wanna see what it just looked like.
I had one other quick observation on question number 2, the quarterly newsletters. I think it would be helpful to point out the quarterly library newsletter. Is that the way that they get?
We had said that.
Or is it some
and-
generic quarterly
and
newsletter
Todd-
that I may or may not get?
Well, Todd told me you're asking a question of how do you get your news about the Plainfield Public Library, and that library is implied. I
Yeah.
asked that question initially.
Well, or-
too. Or
Or just say
No,
it's
I-
quarterly newsletters, or something to make it clearer.
Well, they know that because you're already saying, how do you remember this of your house have received information about the Plainfield Public Library? So you don't want to keep reiterating public
Yeah.
library.
Yeah, I think-
Yeah, you wouldn't say the public library website, so.
I think it would.
Okay, I guess I'm throwing because it has newspaper, and we don't have a library newspaper, so.
Oh, it says newsletter.
No, it says
No.
newspaper.
No,
So
no,
the
newspaper.
option
Newspaper.
5.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So yes, I
Local
understand the first 4 of those
newspapers.
are all related to the library.
Yeah.
We just need some way to differentiate
Okay, we can put the local newspaper.
local newspapers, okay. That corrects it then, thank you.
Okay.
In the area that has the check that all apply, the answer probably against or definitely against, those lists of statements, I don't trust the public library district to get the project completed. What are we trying to kind of glean from all
We're
of
trying
this?
to find out what they're opposed, why they're opposed to it.
And so asking the question why you would be
Yeah, because
opposed to it,
some-
you don't just take down their answer, or?
No, that's why any
Because
other
you seem all
reason.
negative, in a way.
Well, and is there a history of that? I mean, that.
Yeah, that
Well,
seems
these,
odd,
and
like I
these
don't
are
trust-
only to the people who answer probably against or definitely against. Only those people get this question.
Okay.
So they're already negative.
Well,
But maybe the,
that's
maybe
true, but
the
maybe
first
one is financially, this doesn't work into my budget, or.
But they will already have told us that
But they
further
would
up,
have-
like when it says
Yeah.
probably for, definitely for, or probably for undecided, they'll say, again, we have to know what the project's gonna be, what you're gonna do specifically, and what the costs will be.
Okay.
They'll already
It's a
say.
pretty odd one though.
Yeah, I don't like
First.
that, I don't trust. It doesn't-
Yeah, the-
Or
lack
if it's
of
gonna be
trust.
trusted, I don't trust the public library district to handle the project correctly, or something
Yeah.
like that, that's not,
Okay.
I mean, we're not gonna leave a big hole here, I don't think
Right.
anybody thinks.
Well, what do you
I
want
don't
to
even,
stick to?
I don't,
And excuse
I
me,
don't
some of
even know
those
where it
other
came from.
items, can you ask them, project is at the wrong location or these other things, when none of the rest of the survey even deals with any of that? Aren't you assuming knowledge that you're not giving them in the call?
Well, you're asking any other reasons.
Those
so you're
are just,
trying to-
and they still
standards.
have an other, give me
Okay,
what your
okay.
opinion is.
Oh,
We're just
okay.
trying to get to why and giving them some options that
In case
we
they've
hope
got
will
those
help them
options. Okay.
vocalize what the objection is. We're not looking to make a comprehensive list of every objection
Right.
anybody
Right.
could possibly have to the
Right.
project.
but these,
We were trying to put down the top 5 that we thought would be most frequent.
can we remove the first one?
Yeah, I don't like that, I don't trust, because we never give,
That
we didn't
plant's
give
an
them
idea.
anything to,
We have no.
All right,
reason to
just
not
strike
trust us.
that one and go with the 4 then.
Thank you.
All right,
Okay. So now
sufficiently
who
flawed?
is gonna
Yes,
be,
thanks.
Okay,
who is going to be the contact that is gonna be, that Todd
Hi.
will talk to?
Yes.
Okay. And where's this document?
yes,
And you will be available?
yes,
Yeah, You probably want to write down your email
Yeah,
address
okay.
for her. So that Todd can contact you directly, and I'll write Lisa's on there, so she can
That's
do
fine,
that.
because he's gonna have to revamp almost
Yeah.
all of these. I mean, I'll give him the basics, but he's gonna have to reword. You
Sure.
two Definitely decide how you're gonna reword those.
You need a
All right,
shorter
so-
email address.
I'm sorry,
You need a shorter email address.
right.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
So can I get a motion to move forward with
You
this?
actually don't
Yes,
need,
I don't need
we already
Yes.
voted to
That's right,
do
we
the
said we do it.
survey, you're taken care of, this was just your feedback on the questions themselves.
Gotcha, thank you. All right,
Back at it, right?
Eric,
Hopefully. Did it work?
Lisa, how are we looking?
Okay, we got both things. All right, you could start with the other.
Start
one.
with the PowerPoint.
I don't know what happened. The first one came back and then I zip filed
Yeah,
it. I
that-
must have got the wrong file.
Okay.
So where we left off last month, you directed us to proceed with new construction concept 2 on the right.
Yes.
We were gonna try and reduce the square footage to 75,000 square feet from 90,000 plus on the site. We were gonna seek program efficiencies to do so, similar to the combined performing arts and meeting rooms that we talked about last time. And at the very end of the meeting, we talked about the location of the green space at the bottom corner of the library site there, which is where this portion of the existing library would be. And we talked about that it's not really a historic library, but that there was, Graham's group mentioned there was gonna be significant costs to keep the building, because we've removed, when they remodeled the building, they removed all the electrical, plumbing, elevator, mechanical systems, all that, and then we have major changes to the exterior enclosure, and it was gonna be very expensive to keep, so we're gonna look at other options for that. Since the last meeting, we've gone back, we've looked at the floor plans again, and we've worked with the staff, kind of got their feedback on it, and made some fairly significant changes. Just step up here, one of the things we wanted to do was open up the floor plan and gather the public space in a larger, more concise area that increased the flexibility. Previously, we had the meeting rooms kind of in the middle, with the idea, when we looked at it again, we've actually located the meeting rooms off to one end of the building at this point in time, so you enter from the vestibule at the main entrance, and the meeting rooms are on your left, and that dash line represents kind of the movable walls, where that can be reconfigured in 3 or 4 different ways. To the straight in front of you is the entry control circulation area, and to the right is the popular collection. So you have all the public spaces in a fairly compact area, all facing the south side of the building. We've located all the service areas to the north side of the building. We don't have as good of views up that way, we're not getting as much natural light into the building, and it's also where we have an access drive across the top where we can service the building from. So across there, we've got different things like drive-up window, drive-up book return, staff entrance and receiving. Most of those are in the gray areas, kind of what we're calling back of house areas. The green areas are kind of the staff support areas. So we got tech serve and circulation department. One of the things to point out as we work this out is that the drive-up return on the outside and the return on the inside are it's important to get them near each other, because that's where the automatic book sorting system goes. And we need a conveyor belt that works efficiently. You can make them do all kinds of crazy things, but it costs a lot, and it takes a lot to keep them going. Yes. And then in this floor to the right, we have at the far right, we have the administrative area with it. Also has a network and other offices, staff lounge, and so forth in it. And then in the center of the building, we have what we architects call the core area. And we've got the restrooms in that area, also the elevator, the telephone room, or IT closet, and electrical closet. And we've pushed those off to one side of the building a bit more, and you'll see that as we go up further. And again, the idea is to open up the floor space and make room in the center. The elevators are in blue, and that's a vertical access. Also at the bottom, we've got the stair in the blue color, and that's again off to the side. One of the problems you have now is your stair goes up to the center of the building, you're always working around it. So we're trying to keep all those elements off to the side to make the floors a little more functional. And Don will go over the elevations in very soon, but one of the things that we did try and do on this was we consciously tried to keep the main entrance located towards the west edge of the site, which is the Illinois Street side, away from the busy street that's Route 59. So we wanted to kind of get that away, let things calm down, let traffic calm down a bit where we have all the pedestrians going in and out. On the second floor as you go up, this is the youth service floor. And it has everything from young adult to the children's areas on it. It's not just wide open spaces. There's program areas, tech centers, media centers, and the group study rooms, all kinds of different collections throughout the entire floor, but they really have the entire floor. This floor and the first floor we're seeing as very active floors. They won't necessarily be quiet floors. There's a lot going on them, but we've got the stair again off to the side, so a lot of noise doesn't travel up and down. The core here, you can see, is pushed all the way up against the exterior wall to keep as much open space in the center of the building as possible. We've also located the staff workroom up along that north wall to keep open space out in the area. The blue at the left corner is actually the upper space of the meeting rooms. They're double height spaces so that we get the headroom we need. It's not open to this floor. It's closed off, but it sticks up into the floor. Again, a flexible open space, really heavy on the kind of youth there. The third floor we're seeing is a quieter floor. This becomes a more adult floor. It has quieter functions on it to the point where the stair would probably have a glass enclosure around it so we don't have noise traveling up through the building. Again, we've gathered a lot of space together here for reference, nonfiction, and fiction collection. That includes many things, including the information commons, computer training labs, classrooms, digital media labs, local history, quiet study rooms, etc. All those fall within here. it's not really necessary to work those out exactly how they fall at this point in time, that we have the space and a good configuration for it here. With the flexible open space, it really lends itself to future changes down the road too. The hard construction areas are at the perimeter, and now everything in the middle can be revised. At the left side, we're showing something called the rooftop mechanical. And this is something we'll show you that we've done to kind of offset some of the massing concerns you get when you put a mechanical penthouse on top of the building, making it feel even taller. So the next slide is going to show you a section. So if you imagine that we cut through the building here, and you're looking in the end of the building towards Route 59. This is through the meeting room and performance space we talked about last time. We're showing you kind of the sight lines that someone's sitting at the back, that the terrace seating really does kind of kick up the last third of people so they can see over the majority of the people who sit in the center, see to the back. The young adult area is adjacent to it upstairs, but it's not necessarily looking into the space. The gray area at the bottom left is the support areas. It sticks out of the building at a one-story height. Again, that's purposefully on the residential sides of the building to kind of break down the overall height of the building. The rooftop mechanical at the top, rooftop's kind of a misnomer in that we've set it into the mass of the building. So you're not going to see mechanical units sticking out up on the roof of the building. We're not going to have an additional floor height of space kind of on the entire building. It'll be set down in. That makes it a friendlier building in the area, makes it more in keeping with the whole downtown area, but it also controls the sound. It reflects sound upwards rather than letting it go out to the neighborhood.
You mentioned the burn
Okay.
No, it'll show up in the elevation.
Also, on the far right side where you see the terrace seating, you kind of go up half a floor, there's a window out. We're also looking at something we'll talk about in a second here, they're kind of creating an outdoor program space up against the building in that area. And that we're berming the earth up against it, again, for that same idea of kind of settling the building down into the ground, reducing the mass of the building. But it's something we could take advantage of as an outdoor program space as well. Yes.
Is there access to that rooftop mechanical then through that exit stair that's on the
Yes.
west side of the building?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So there's a second floor, third floor
We have to
level
work that out
entry
exactly,
out.
because there's gonna be other enclosed areas on this floor and stuff, but we
Sure.
do need to access this. So you don't have to
You don't have to
go up a
climb
ladder.
over. Right,
to
okay,
get to
that's
the
what I
steps.
was wondering about.
You'll get to it by walking through a door at some point on this floor.
Okay, great, thank you.
In a controlled area.
Yeah.
Yeah, a locked door. The last thing here before we talk about the elevations is the site plan. And on the left is the site plan we talked about last time. And there were certain challenges that we talked about since about the historic, what we call the historic library, though this building's not really historic. It's really the old original library, I guess is a better way of calling it. But there was concern also voiced about, we thought we were being really efficient by having this driveway go right straight from Route 59 across Illinois Street. The library staff and administration pointed out to us, maybe too efficient, that this is a great way to cut the corner when traffic is backed up, and that we need to do something a little more circuitous, not so that it's unusable, but that it's less tempting to do so. So that's one of the big changes we made. We also, and you see on the right here, Route 59 over here, Illinois Street here, Lockport down here, we now enter off of Route 59 and you kind of loop through the parking lot rather than having a straight shot across. We also took a look at that corner where the existing building is located, so the room we're in is right here. We're now proposing tearing that building down and actually putting the green space that is program area up against the library. It's a lot easier to staff. It also contributes to the entry area as you go into the building. It kind of creates a nice kind of a transition between the vehicular world and the library. You kind of break down into a pedestrian space along the way there too. That is right up against the building. I think the other thing is, it didn't seem very likely a good idea for the library to take little kids through the parking lot all the way down to the other side. It just seems like a much better juxtaposition. The drive across the top remains a service drive. We've made it one way here so that you can always drive up to the service windows and book drop on the driver's side of the car. but we also kind of don't want people circulating back through the site from there. So instead of having a service drive that came back out kind of at an awkward corner here, it exits out onto Illinois Street. We have an interior drive that lets you get up to the book drop without having to go to Route 59. We added that feature to it because it didn't seem right that anyone coming from the west might have to go up 59 to get to this space. And it's hard to turn left and so forth, so it seemed like a better circulation pattern. Overall, we were skeptical before about saving this building and getting enough usable parking on this site. Once we take this little portion of the building down, we actually pick up quite a bit of parking. Now, the overall floor plan that we're showing is a little larger, because as we worked with staff, there was more things that wanted to be on the first floor. But with offsetting the parking down at the bottom, we've been able to maintain that 120 to 130 parking spaces that we had before.
And still the usable green space using that bermed area
Yes.
right next to the
Yeah,
building
and it-
rather than
you know,
across the lot.
That's an idea that would have to be developed further in the future, but the idea is to have kind of an entry court there that we could make use of some landscaping.
Yeah.
It's nice to have a transition between the parking lot and when you walk into the building. So you don't feel like you're walking off of the parking lot directly into the building door. So it gives you, it helps with that transition.
Right.
So, any questions about this portion before we move on to the elevation? Okay, that's file, I guess. You're gonna have to find out what I did.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So thank you very
You won't be
much
able
for
to-
taking care of this.
Sure, we won't be able to,
All
you'll
right.
have to just tell me.
There's only
Is it
three, there's
PPL?
only 3 slides, so it won't be hard. So, on this first one, it's intentionally shown in black and white, the building elevation here, so we can focus on a couple of things that we think are important in terms of figuring out how do we approach the building elevation. You know, we have said, this is something we've talked about since the beginning of the project, how do we figure out what does the building look like? What is appropriate for the Plainfield community? You have this historic area. You know, do we do something that kind of imitates that? Do we do something that looks more contemporary and modern? You know, how do you kind of figure out what that is? And so what we're gonna go through tonight is kind of a logic that gets at the way that we look at this and the way that we approach it. And what you're not gonna hear from us are discussions about style. What you're gonna hear from us instead are reasons that have to do with the building site, the way it's, you know, its location on the site. Specifically, given where we've ended up with the building on the site, it really bridges 2 very different environments between Illinois Street and Route 59. Illinois Street, on the left-hand side in this image here, has the residential scale. That's very different from the environment that you have along Route 59, which has the commercial scale. And so Eric talked earlier, we were talking about the floor plans, about justifying the entry of the building towards the Illinois Street side. We think that view corridor that you get up Illinois Street from Lockport is still gonna be an important, you know, way of identifying the library. And so justifying the building entry towards the residential side as opposed to from the commercial side along Route 59, we think is a way of creating a more kind of welcoming and environment and inviting you know, entry into the building. So that's really what we want to focus on here, is the fact that we have these 2 different environments that the building is spanning in between. And then if you go to the next image, please. So the next image really shows essentially the same thing, but now shows the building in color. And what I want to focus on here are the kind of transition zones, if you will, that we've built into the building elevation itself to make this transition from more residential, intimate scale on the Illinois Street side to the more commercial and larger scale on the Route 59 side. So beginning on the left-hand side, the area that we're showing in this section here, we've labeled intimate scale. May not be an exactly you know, accurate term, accurate way to refer to it, but you can kind of see what we're getting at. Our intention there is create kind of a low canopy of building entry coming in that has a kind of intimate scale coming into the building. We have the earth berm off to the side that you see in the green there that slopes up to the sill of the window. That's the window that's at the top of that terrace inside of the lobby space. okay? And so you can imagine walking up to the building and hopefully, seeing people inside there, and kind of activating that scale as you come up to the building. We've intentionally put kind of a large window, if you will, over the entry piece to identify when you're looking at the building. It's kind of an identifier, here's where the building entry is. One of the comments that we received, and I think it's a good one, is that the opening immediately to the right of the entry, the one that's shown here, could be confused as a building entry when you're looking at it. So I think that's one of the things that we want to modify as we go forward. And then in the center section, where you might remember when Eric was referring to the floor plans, he noted that the stairway, the monumental stairway that goes from the first floor to the third floor. When we use the term monumental stairway, essentially what we mean, it's a wide, generous stair that's open. It has a very open character. You don't feel like you're walking into a fire exit stair. So what I'm referring to is similar to the stair that you have here, but I don't want you to think about that stair or anything about what it is we're proposing here. So this would be in a very open environment, but it's along that exterior wall, and it gives us an opportunity to really help make this transition in scale between the residential side and the more commercial side of the building. And we're indicating in this area a kind of irregular window pattern that's shown there right now. I'm not saying that this is the final solution on this, but it's an opportunity when you think about the transition kind of moving up that stair to do something special in the interior environment there. And then finally, when you get to the end, to the far right-hand side where we have the open collection areas. Now, this elevation was originally developed at a time when we did not have the administrative staff on the first floor down at this end of the building. We had the popular collection all the way down on the end. And so in a way, it made a little bit more sense, I think, with that scheme. So, but again, I think it expresses our intention to try to get to a different scale at this end of the building as you get over to the Route 59 side. And imagine that scale then wrapping around on Route 59. And also, which is also going to be a very important kind of identity piece for the library along Route 59, given the amount of traffic that goes along there. So, generally, those are the ideas that we're kind of focusing on as far as developing the elevation. And then the last image that we have is a detailed image that shows a little more clearly what our intention is and how we think that these ideas can start to relate to some of the more traditional architecture that you have in the downtown area. So for example, on the right-hand side, you can see that first of all, we're proposing to clad the building in brick. And what we're indicating here is something that's kind of a warm, a warm tone brick. We're proposing to do brickwork at the cornice line, develop a cornice line similar to, much of the cornice brickwork that you have in the downtown area. So do something that recalls that. Similarly, at the bottom of the building, we're proposing a base that could be a stone base that wraps around the bottom of the building. These are very traditional building elements that would help relate the building to what's happening to traditional architecture in the community. And then using stone as an accent around the building. So basically a masonry building. Now, that's focusing on this area. As you get down to the other end where you have the curtain wall, it obviously has a very different kind of character. And so we're trying to strike this balance between, the traditional elements that you have in the downtown area and relating to that, at the same time recognizing that this is a building that's going to be built in the 21st century, not in the 19th century So, trying to find that blend between it. So I think this is a starting point for us. We're not proposing this as the final solution by any means, but we wanted to give you an idea of how we look at this, the approach that we take to it. And, it doesn't, all the rationalizations that we provide, even if they make complete logical sense, at the end of the day, people still look at something like this and there's a gut reaction. I like it or I don't like it, right? And so sometimes the logical explanations help when you're kind of trying to figure out whether I like it or I don't like it. But we also recognize there is this kind of gut reaction. And I think as you think about going to referendum, we want to make sure that we have a building character that expresses something that people are comfortable with. We really don't want the referendum to be a beauty contest about whether, you know, we love the design. We want to make sure the design looks good and that people feel that if they make the investment in the library, that they're gonna get something that is, you know, pragmatic, it's responsible, and it fits in, but we're not trying to, we don't really want this to be so much about the building. We would much rather it be about the needs that you have, so to speak. So, all that being said, we'd love to hear your comments or